now we are in the hub of Soundbytes, sitting in my office where all the magic happens. Yes, in my back garden, in our garden room, but I have my keyboard and I have my computer and I find all sorts of music for the coming terms of Soundbytes.
Can you tell us what you did in your background before you started the choir?
I used to do jazz singing, and which I did enjoy. I did it for about 10 years, but it was all solo work. I used to have a pianist and a bassist and a drummer, and we used to go up and down the country and perform at various functions. But after a while you saw quite quickly it's not as glamorous as it might sound. There's lots of lugging equipment, very late nights, long journeys, and actually it's quite lonely, really. I used to travel with Meredith White, our regular pianist, and we used to have lovely long conversations on our motorway drives together. But yes, generally it's quite a lonely job. You're singing on your own out there. And I got to a point where I thought, I want to sing and I want to carry on singing in some way, but I don't want to be doing this anymore. And it was actually the very first programme that Gareth Malone did, where he went into a South London school, a boys' school, with the view to getting them to sing. And it was absolutely amazing how he got these 14, 15-year-old boys who were dead against singing in any way, shape or form. And he got them singing amazingly at the Royal Albert Hall, and it was very moving. And I still, when I see YouTube clips of it, I sort of, get a lump in my throat, because it was incredible what he did. And I thought, if he can do that with such a hard audience of people, it can't be that difficult to get people who actually want to sing to sing. And that was really the seed of the idea. I just basically put a few adverts out in Ashtead, booked a room in the Peace Memorial Hall, the smallest room they had. I booked it for I think it was a 6 or 8 week period, and then just waited to see how many people would inquire. So that's really how the idea all sort of started. And eventually the first week came round, and John helped me set up. I put my keyboard up and there was no one there, and we put all the chairs out all in a big circle, and he said, okay, then you'll be all right. And I said yes. So he said, right, I'll see you later. I said okay. Anyway, apparently as he went out of the Peace Memorial Hall, he said there was a whole crowd of people all coming in. It was like, oh, realising that I was actually going to be very busy. And I just stood there saying, hello, hello, shaking like a leaf. And we sang. I just got people singing simple songs. And even then, at the end of the evening, I was absolutely convinced that not a single person enjoyed it, and that they would not come back, or worse, 3 people would come back. And then what do you do with a non-number of choir of 3? But amazingly, about 30 people all returned the following week, and that was the beginning of Soundbytes, really.
How many did you have on the first day?
The very first one, I think there might have been about 35 people all squashed in that room, and by the end of that first term it was obvious that was going to be too small and we'd need to move. But we just, and my ethos for the choir as well was, I'm not going to mention any musical terms, no jargon. I'm not even going to use words like soprano or altos. They're going to be group 1, group 2, group 3. and I'll let people decide where they want to be. I won't give them any notes to read. They can just have the words. And I soon realised that actually people need more than that if they want to improve. So it's been as much a learning journey for me as it has for those people that were there right from the start 10 years ago. We've all kind of evolved and grown together And that was the other thing. I'd said it's going to be a no concert choir, so nobody will need to worry. You know, it's all about the singing. And I think because I'm from a performance background, I kept thinking this isn't any good. If we're doing all this work, what's the point of not sharing it with other people? It doesn't have to be world-class level. And towards...
Although it is.
Yes, of course, yes. But towards the middle of that first term, I'd heard about, it's quite ironic actually, it was at the Leatherhead Theatre. They were running open mic nights. And I rang them up and I said, how would you feel about me bringing my choir to do a couple of numbers at the open mic? And they said, oh, that would be fantastic, we'd love that, because of course they get bar sales as well. So they were very happy, and we all turned up. I think there was probably about 25 of us for the actual concert, and we did 2 songs. One of them was Leonard Cohen's Hallelujah, and the other one was California Dreaming. And we were all a bit like frightened rabbits in the headlights, but I was absolutely so proud of getting through the term and then actually doing a performance in front of, there was a few people that we didn't know because they were there to perform as well. And then I remember Janice as well, actually. She said to me at the end of the evening, she said, so are we all coming back in January? I said, yeah, this was brilliant. So it just kept rolling on from there, really.
How many people are there in the choir now?
I think there's just over 60, I think maybe 62. So,
do you like that number?
Yes, it's a good number. I mean, it's one of the things about non-audition choirs is the more people you have, the better the sound becomes, because it's all being blended all the time. So anybody that may not be quite as good as somebody else, it's being mixed and blended. Whereas if you reduce that number down to 20, you can start hearing individual voices a bit more, and then the confidence level drops. Whereas you've got a big number, everybody doesn't mind, singing full throttle. I'm happy with the number. I don't mind it getting any bigger. The only thing I would say is we might need to reconsider our concert spaces, and actually the rehearsal venue could even become too small if it grew. But it's bubbled around that number now for quite some time, and it is a comfortable number, and I do just about know everybody's name. I think if it got much bigger I'd probably get lost with a few of the faces, but it's great, lovely number.
Are you happy with the age mix?
Yes, they're a lovely group of people, very friendly, very warm, yes, it would be lovely to have younger people as well. I think what happens with, particularly maybe in Ashtead, is you've got a lot of people with young families, and therefore I think it's more of the childcare issues that don't allow the slightly younger crowd to come in. But we have a few, and everybody's welcome. Any adult is very welcome to Soundbytes. Very happy.
Was it always going to be called Soundbytes and Songworks?
Right, well, Songworks was not on the horizon when I started Soundbytes for a start. But yeah, Soundbytes came to me because partly the meaning of the word has the word sound in it, and there's like sound clips of songs and things, and the bites part was really more to do with the fact that I was going to use technology for the learning tracks for people, so that they could take it onto their computers and practice at home and that sort of thing. So Soundbytes, it just sort of came quite quickly. Then Songworks started, I think it was 2 years after I started Soundbytes, and I wanted something similar to Soundbytes but different. So Songworks really just worked.
When did you learn all the techie bits that you do, i.e. how to put all the learning words, etc. on computer, and how do you actually get all the songs to us?
The technology's changed actually. When I first started Soundbytes, I bought a 4-track recorder, and I was sort of trying to make my own arrangements up. So I'd record the tune on one track, and then I'd record a harmony line, and then I'd record another harmony line, and then it started getting complicated because I couldn't remember what I'd recorded on the first track, and then so it took a lot of messing around. But I've always harmonised, so I've always enjoyed that side of singing. I used to do tape to tape recording at home when I was growing up. I'd literally record on one cassette tape, and then that voice and me would record onto the second cassette tape, and then we'd do like a 3. So I was getting my training from when I was about 9 or 10, but that was in the old days of cassette tapes. And then so I got this 4-track recorder, and that was mini disc players. And then when Apple came along, it opened a whole world of easier possibilities, because they have this thing called GarageBand, and it's like an 8 or 16 or whatever track recording studio on your computer, and much easier, simpler to use, and you can go in and edit it and adjust all the recording levels. So yeah, that's sort of how, again, I've learned as I've gone along on the job. And then, more recently, we've gone over to Dropbox, which again has made things easier for everybody.
You said you were singing when you were very young.
Yes.
How old were you when you started singing?
I first remember singing when I was 4 at a church concert, a Christmas evening service, and in my nightie and dressing gown, ready for bed. And I sang something like Little Donkey, so it must have been quite nice, I think. And but I remember very clearly, even at that age, thinking how wonderful it felt to sing, and not just perform. And although I think that was part of it, but I remember feeling like the closest I can describe it was, I think Ella Fitzgerald said, it might have been Stephen Sondheim, if I can't fly, then let me sing. And that sort of really summarises how it makes me feel. It is like flying on the inside. That's how I feel when I sing. So yes, I've sung all of my life, and because I was brought up, my parents were big church goers, and therefore the opportunity to sing solos. I mean, I learnt the guitar, I used to sing and play the guitar, I used to sing at the piano, and then we'd form little harmony groups and ensembles. There wouldn't be that many Sundays would go by where I wasn't marching up to the front with my new song, getting all my singing experience. The classic one that my mum and dad would happily reveal on this recording would be that I never remembered the words. So I hope that makes everyone in Soundbytes feel better. I would get them wrong frequently, and I didn't mind. It didn't bother me. I think it bothered everyone else more than me.
Did you go to music college?
No, I wish I had, but it was never really part of my sort of future. I knew I wanted to do music, but I didn't see it as a career, and so I went into catering college, oddly, and then but I think when something's that strong inside, you make a way of doing it. So that's when I started. I went to the City Lit as an adult student in my spare time, and I did a jazz singing class. In fact, I did loads of jazz singing courses, and then I did understanding the voice courses. I did everything I could to improve my knowledge of singing, and I took up jazz piano as well, so I was learning more and more about harmony and what made it work. So yes, no, I didn't go to music college, but I kind of educated myself by doing it in my own time, really. And then just life experience, I suppose, of performance you pick up. lots of stuff.
Where did you meet Meredith? At City Lit?
No, so when you get booked to do a gig, you start picking up hundreds of contacts. So first of all, the very first pianist I used would have been a pianist at the City Lit, and I'd say to him, "Oh, Gabriel, would you accompany me on such and such a gig?" And he'll say yes, and then eventually he'll say, "Oh no, I can't do that one," and he'll say, "But I've got some numbers," and then you'd soon build up quite a contact list. And then Meredith was one of these people. I can't even remember how her name came into existence, but yeah, I mean, as soon as I think with her being a woman as well probably helped us kind of really connect, because it's a very male-dominated existence, the jazz playing world. So yeah, we sort of clung together, and then we also found ourselves a female bass player. So I used to try and book the three of us whenever three of us were required, and if they were ever available. So yeah, that's how I met Meredith. And then obviously I've kept her in my life since doing the choirs, as she's been playing for Soundbytes over the years. She's practically an honorary member, isn't she, really?
Three's a chord, your friends.
Ah, yes. Well, part of my development as a choral conductor, I joined this association called the ABCD, which is the Association for British Choral Directors. And that's been amazing, actually, because every year they put on a conference, and suddenly there's hundreds of people just like you, all running choirs, and you share ideas, you talk about difficulties, you talk about good things, and then there's courses and seminars to help you with your conducting, or just to help you with your choirs. And it was 3 years ago, I think, maybe 2. We both were at the conference in Winchester, and I saw you would go around with a name badge and where you're from, and I saw Marybourne, Kingston, and I thought, oh, that's not far. So we got chatting, and yeah, everything that she does in Kingston, it was almost identical to everything I do here in Ashtead. So we just sort of hit it off, and we kept in touch after the conference had finished, and she said to me, "I really want to sing, don't you?" And I said, "Yeah, I'd love to." She said, "Well, how about we form a trio?" I said, "Well, yes, but there's only 2 of us. I think you need 3 people to do that." And she said, "Well, we'll find someone. Do you know anyone?" I said, "No." And she said, "Well, we'll find someone, but let's do it." And then she went on another weekend conference or course or some sort, and that's where she met Sue, who lives in Farnham. And so there's a kind of a triangle of the 3 of us that not sort of quite equidistant from each other, but I'm lucky that I'm in the middle, so they both come to me once a week on a Thursday morning, and we started working really hard on, well, what we teach is what suddenly we're having to do, and that is blend, balance, vowel, sounds, intonation, and it is very exposing when, as I said earlier, when there's just 3 of you, every voice matters, everything you do has got to be perfect or not far off it. But what again is really nice is in the 2 hours that we get together, we probably do about 20 minutes of actual singing. Perhaps a bit more than that. But again, we just have a really good time together. We're sharing experiences. We're all doing the same sort of jobs.
Do you find it difficult to switch from singing to conducting in the concert?
What I find difficult is not singing when I'm leading the choir, because I sing and I just want to join in, and I might even be harmonising a different part to what everyone else is singing, because I just love the sound that everyone's creating. Yes, the official guideline is the choral leader is not supposed to mouth words or sing or anything like that, which I do try and adhere to, but as I just said, I end up singing along anyway, and And as I said earlier, I often get the words wrong. So even if everyone's following me, they're probably going to follow the wrong words, so there's no point.
It was funny when you had your conductor, the instructor from your course.
Oh, yes.
Because he was telling you not to mouth. We saw it was very difficult for you to do that.
Yeah, I think it is. It's just ingrained. I just want to sing. So it's not that I'm trying to help anybody. It's just me singing along with everyone. But, you know, I do understand why one shouldn't, because they're then following me. Whereas if I'm not singing, they are leading the sound, if that makes sense.
Yes, but we do like you.
I'm glad you like me.
We do like you mouthing the words.
Yes, I know. That's all I have to say about that, Linda.
The choir. What are your earliest memories of the choir? How you felt about the choir you told us a bit about it.
I've always been really proud of the choir. I've still got some recordings of the very early days, and when I listen to them, you can hear the difference between what they are now and what they were then. But it still fills me with getting a lump in my throat. It fills me with sadness. Oh. No, it doesn't at all. It fills me with pride. I've loved everything that they achieved.
But we have some bad moments, don't we?
Yes.
Let's share the bad moments.
Bad moments.
The things that have really pissed you off in the choir.
Oh dear. Oh gosh. Okay, things I don't like about Soundbytes. When we specifically go over a given problem, an issue, and we nail it in that rehearsal, and then it crops straight back up again in the same rehearsal, if not the following week. Sometimes that's fine. It doesn't get me too much if it happens the next week. If it happens for the third week, that's when I really do get cross, and then, you know, I let everyone know that I'm not happy about that. What else don't I like? I'd have to say the chatting isn't generally a problem, because people are actually very respectful, and if one group are busy working on something, generally people are very well behaved and they will sit and listen, because actually everyone's learning at the same time.
But you are always very encouraging.
Oh, well, that's nice. I was about to say that the sort of one of the things I say quite a lot was, well, that was good, but, and then the men immediately go like this, or, you know, whoever it might be.
Now, what is your opinion about the men at the moment? They seem to have improved no end. Is it just because there are more of them?
Yeah, it's amazing now, because it's opened up a whole world of possibilities as far as music's concerned. I can now get a piece of music that's already SATB, hand it out without actually having to do too much work. I'm just sort of saving myself a bit of time. Whereas in the old days I had to reassemble all the notes to fit the right group if it was only 3 parts. A lot of music out there nowadays is SAB, so I can still do 3 parts if I want to. But on the plus side of having tenors and basses, you're getting a richness right down at the bottom end of the range. You're getting a lovely richness in the middle for the tenors, who are right next to the altos, and you're sort of filling in the entire sort of vocal register. And from an audience point of view, may not technically understand why that sounds amazing, but they'll be sitting there thinking, that sounds absolutely amazing, because you're just filling the space of music with music, with notes. So yeah, it's absolutely amazing. But I think another thing for me, why are the men doing so well? They get together, not just they get together and they do have the rehearsals in the weeks that we don't have rehearsals, like in the half-term week. And I think for any group that does that, not only are they intensely working on their part, but they're actually bonding and they're getting to know each other. And I think that has a profound effect on the way you sing together, because we are our voices after all, we are our instruments. But they also go to the pub, most of them, every week, so they're doing lots of bonding even when they're not singing. So it's
Altos do that at half term now too.
Well, yes, I'm thrilled. And actually, I think I have mentioned in the occasional rehearsal lately how well the altos are starting to sound together. They really, just really improved. But the other good thing I was just going to say about the SATB is it now means that half of the soprano twos are split into the soprano ones and the other half bulk up the altos. So again, you're getting much bigger groups. So whereas the sopranos were a small group and the sound could sound quite thin at the top, because you've got another 6 or 7 women joining that group, it meets up the sound a bit more. So yeah, it's I think splitting the men was a really good move. I know they weren't keen when I mentioned it, and that I'd mentioned I was going to. I think they felt it was going to split them in more ways than just musical. But I think they're okay with it now.
What is your best song?
Because we're at the level that we're at, there's always a song that's sung really, really well. I suppose at the moment it's got to be something like Bohemian Rhapsody, just because everybody's in it, heart and soul.
Worst song that we've ever sung?
The worst song we've ever sung had to be... Are you thinking about the French one that we did?
Funnily enough, yes, Hazel. Or well, didn't do.
Okay, yeah, so Dirait-on was a nightmare. It was difficult musically, difficult lyrically. It just never really gelled, did it? We flogged it like a dead horse and it still didn't get up and do anything. So yeah, that we've made some errors. But actually, the other night we were talking about, again, this was really back in the early days. We had this couple in the choir, a married couple, and we did a sort of a run through. It was the concert night. It was half an hour before the audience were going to come in. This is when we used to have our concerts at the Ashton Baptist Church. 7 o'clock we did our run through, and this particular song, and I think it was what did I do? Did what's that one? Oh, I get with a little help from my friends. Okay. And it just wasn't going well, and it wouldn't happen, and it was sounding dreadful. It was all out of tune, and everybody, I think I was stressed. I think everyone else was picking up on that, but they could also probably hear as well that it wasn't going very well. And this gentleman of this couple came up to me, and he said, "Hazel, do you think it would be a terrible idea if we just don't do that song in the concert?" And I remember thinking, what? Not stick to the plan? Being, quite blinkered as a person. And I thought, but it's in the programme and everything. And I said, actually, that's quite a good idea, yes. Yes, we'll cut that song. And I think that was a good call on his part. So, and they left after that. So that was probably also one of the worst songs we've ever done. But it's, you win some, you lose some. And actually the other thing is you learn what's going to work for our group. I think what's nice about our group is if I like the song, it will be enthusiastically received by the choir. I think we're just on the same brainwave as far as songs are concerned.
Funniest moments in the choir?
The funniest moments. Well, we have lots of fun all the time, and there are many funny moments. But I do remember last year we went to Bruges for a tour, and these amazing churches were vast, they were cavernous, and it meant that we would have had a backing track to sing along with, but because of the size of the space, it just didn't work. So we had to sing everything a cappella. And I think it was the Seal Lullaby. I had a tuning fork tuned to A, and the song is in E flat minor or something like that. Anyway, it's totally unrelated to this one note that I had. And I could see these notes on the page, so I was listening to the note, thinking, right, okay, for example, and bring them all in. This terrible noise came out, and I thought, no, we're not going to go on with this because it's not nice for the audience. So I stopped them, and I turned around. Sorry about that. Ding. Okay, so that's that note. So that must be. So I did the whole thing again, gave them their notes, and this time I think the choir were starting to know whether I was giving them the right note or not. So I was even getting people going like this. I was thinking, God, I can't do this. I can't do this. Anyway, I brought them in regardless. And it was awful. Turned around, stopped the choir, turned around and I said, I'm really sorry, but I think we'll leave this for now. Turned back to the choir and we did Let the River Run, I think. And it's a really uplifting, joyful song, as you know. And when it had finished, I thought, I'm going to try Seal Lullaby again, and got the note. And for some reason, I think my brain had obviously switched off, switched it back. It's like, you know, switch it off, switch it on again, and it will all work fine. And I managed to find all three notes, and we got in there, and it was much relief to the audience as much as it was to me, as much as it was to the choir. In fact, did I say at the end, I turned around to the audience at the end and I said something like, oh, well, we got there in the end. Thank you for your patience or something. But they were all very sweet, weren't they? They all laughed. And in fact, they clapped and cheered at the end of that one because I think they were so grateful and so relieved that we'd got through it pretty well, actually, if I remember rightly.
They were an excellent audience.
Yes, yeah. But actually, you know, talking about funny moments, I think Bruges was full of them, wasn't it? That was an amazing experience for everybody, and I think what I not anticipated with going on a tour with the choir was, again, you know, what I was saying about bonding. You get to really get to know each other, and then when you get to know someone and you're singing with them, you're just creating even more of a bond. And then because we couldn't use the backing track, we had to work, and I think we really sort of upped our game as far as listening and singing, and, you know, our musicianship skills sort of rocketed at that point. And I think that was a huge learning experience for everybody. So that was absolutely fantastic.
Do you know how much you've raised for charity over the 10 years? Roughly.
Roughly, yes. It's coming up for £25,000, yeah, which again, because it was going to be a no concert choir, that would never have happened. And then we did that one performance at the theatre, at the Mezbar in the Leatherhead Theatre, and that's when I decided that actually concerts were a good thing. And I think it was the following term we did our very first proper concert, so we probably had about, I don't know, 6 or 7 songs to perform to everybody. And then it was as a result of that, because we don't charge for tickets, somebody said to me, look, people really enjoy what you've done. Why don't you have a collection that they can just put whatever they want into a bucket and we can give it to a local charity? And I thought, that's no effort on our part. So it's you know, our wonderful audiences have raised that amount of money. It's been easy on my part of it. Just all I've had to do is choose the charity, and then you know, a little bit of organising between us. But every charity that come are just so delighted to have been sponsored or supported, because everybody is so worthy, everybody's so deserving. It's harder actually choosing which ones to go for.
What ambitions have you got for the future for the choir?
Well, I'd say this as a joke, but maybe deep down it's not. But I'd really like us all to perform at Royal Albert Hall one day.
No pressure then.
No. But I always think if you don't think it, it won't happen. Whereas if it's there, there's always the possibility that it will. It doesn't have to be the Royal Albert Hall. It could be the Barbican. It could be the Purcell Room at the South Bank Centre. Yeah, anything that's quite high profile would be the next. So Leatherhead Theatre's wonderful and amazing, and it is a beautiful theatre, and I'm really proud. And what really is nice about the Leatherhead Theatre is partly it's local, but it's where we very first performed, and it's our 10th birthday, so that's a really nice thing. But there's a lot of people out there that we might want to sing to, and yeah, a big city called London would be nice to sort of spread our wings out one day and perform somewhere special.
Have you enjoyed the competitions that you've done with the choir?
Yes, I have. Yeah, again, I think they're all things that you may not necessarily win, but you learn from. I didn't do it this year. I didn't do it this year because I just thought we'd have a break from it. But they've been good experiences, and it makes you really work hard on something small and short is easier in a way because you haven't got loads of other stuff going on. But we're yet to win first prize, so you could say that's another ambition.
How do you choose the songs that we sing each term?
That's purely trawling through YouTube, and I've got a list on my phone. If I hear something on the radio, it goes on my list. I love arranging, so my ideal would be to take a song that I really like. The words have to be appropriate for the choir that are going to sing it. Some people have suggested all sorts of strange things that just would not work with us. So it can't be too sort of flimsy, lovey-dovey, nothing sort of...
Or French.
Definitely not French. But basically, it's any song that I really like, and then ideally I'll go into the online music store and see if there's already an arrangement out there, and if there is, I'll get it and see what it's like, and then work from there. And if there isn't an arrangement and I feel really strongly about the song, then I'll try and fit time in and write parts, which, they're on the plus side of doing that. I'm writing specifically for the people who are going to be singing, so I know I could make one part easier, one part more complicated, because I know which group will cope. We've done classical, we've done jazz, we've done folk, we've done world music, we've done pop, which is obviously our main stuff. And I do like to bring in classical stuff because I know how uplifting and amazingly different it is from the rest of what we do. It's got more sort of gravitas and more emotional connection, and even in Latin you may not necessarily know what you're singing, but for some reason it's a classic because it's amazing, and it connects, it touches people, whether you're singing it or whether you're listening. So actually one of the harder ones we did also was Requiem, that Requiem Aeternam, wasn't it? But we did that in Bruges, and I think our first performance of it was shaky, and then I remember all the altos working really hard on the coach for our next performance, and it was absolutely beautifully done. We did a few really beautiful songs, didn't we? We did the Seal Lullaby. What was the other? The one from West Side Story, Somewhere. That brought a tear to my eye when we performed that. That goes up there with the greats.
Tears in your eyes.
Yeah.
Any other songs or any other concerts?
No, not tears. Spine tingles, maybe. Yeah. Again, in the early days, when we did things like Dry Your Tears Africa, one of the first times we ever performed that. So normally we'd always have our pianist playing with us, but that was the first time I used the backing track, which is very dramatic, and it was very loud, and the choir just kind of was so roused with it. It was, yeah, spellbinding, and the audience when it finished was sort of like really cheering and really clapping, as everybody felt it all at once. So yeah, but yes, I'd say generally lots of spine tingle moments, usually in a concert rather than a rehearsal, because I'm not listening for that in a rehearsal so much. Okay,
Hazel, and the question we all want to really ask you at the moment is, what are our next songs going to be?
Our songs for next term?
Yes.
You expecting me to give that away? I'm not going to tell you.